Hello everyone, my name is MansaMusa and welcome back to my channel. Today we're back with another replay analysis video in Advance Wars by Web. In today's game we'll be covering a match I played just a few days ago against Grimm Guy. If you follow the Advance Wars scene basically at all, the Advance Wars by Web scene that is, you will absolutely know who Grimm Guy is. He's one of the most famous alts on the entire site. And he's really special because he is around a 1400 elo player that exclusively plays Grimm. And if you don't know anything about the game at all, Grimm is the absolute worst CO in the entire game. I won't go into the details right off the bat about just why that is, but to be at his rank with literally the worst CO and playing in, three-tier disadvantage matchups, to be that strong just is a legend of itself, and is why Grimm Guy is so popular in a lot of these replays that you may have seen elsewhere on YouTube. With that being said, though, let's talk briefly about the map before we get into the replay analysis. This game was played on From Wharf to Wilds. I think it's a relatively new standard map in the Global League. This is my first game on it, at least. It's new for me. It's a pretty standard setup. It's a base light map with one base over here on the left, one base down here in the bottom center, and then an airport off to the right. So generally, the strong side, it's kind of interesting, right? So in most base light maps, the strong side would be the base and airport side, but because of this terrain of the mountains and the forest you get through, it's actually really hard to send a bunch of units over here. So what ends up happening, at least in this game, is you see more action around the center and less about the sides, outside of some contested fights for some of these cities. But this map can go a lot of ways. I think that's what makes all good maps great, right, is having multiple different possibilities. With that being said, this match definitely played different than most games I played on Advance Wars by Web, so without further ado, MansaMusa versus Grimm Guy on From Wharf to Wilds. We start off the game doing the first few income walks with our infantry. There's not much intrigue here with the first few turns outside of Grimm Guy choosing to forego the city. Well, what he's going to do here, he's going to forego the early capture of the city to rush this airport. And I think the main reason for that is that battlecopters are very strong in this map, number one. Number two, he wants to get higher unit count. Unit count's always important, especially in base light maps. And number three, Grimm's battlecopters are probably one of his best units. Because Grimm has plus 30% extra attack but minus 20% defense, and because battlecopters essentially get one shot by anti-air anyway, Grimm's battlecopters are just better than the vast majority of COs, so that's why he's making these early rush towards the airport. I do not do this, I believe, on my turn. Yeah, I go for the early income, but still moving out to this infantry to get battlecopters of my own for basically all the same reasons. Battlecopters are still great on Max as well. And kind of talking about this matchup, because I didn't talk about it at the beginning, Max is probably one of the worst matchups possible for Grimm. This was a tier 2 match, and I chose Max because I'm scared. Like, I'm not scared of Grimm, but I'm not going to go easy on him either. Like, I'm not going to pick a disadvantageous thing. Like, I've seen, I think it was Compes in a match against Grimm Guy, and I think he picked Grimm into Grimm Guy. Like, I'm not trying to flex. I'm not trying to do that at all. I'm going to go for the only opportunity I really have to win this game, which is to pick Grimm's hardest matchup possible, which is Max. And the reason why Max is probably the worst matchup for Grimm is because of his extra attack and Grimm's lower defense. Max is essentially like probably 1.5 to 2 times as strong with his attacks just from that matchup alone. And then his power is giving him +1 and +2 movement, respectively, on the COP and the Super CO power. That is like Grimm's worst nightmare because movement COs are really tough for Grimm because obviously he wants to get the first strike. If he doesn't get the first strike, his units basically die. So having that extra movement capability is what makes Adder a great matchup against Grimm, and then Max the ultimate great matchup against Grimm. With that being said, though, we continue these first few turns. I know that's some of the more intro stuff that I just didn't talk about at the beginning, but definitely worth mentioning. We do some more early captures with our infantry, moving out to get this base and then starting these captures of the cities. This city here is basically going to be the cutoff point where I'm going to get this city, Grimm's going to get this city, and then everything outside of that is going to be contested. So this will be contested, this will be contested, and then everything else in the middle will be the other contested cities. So that's where we're kind of moving out to. We get here to day 4, do some more early captures. There is some interesting tactics you can do with these center infantry because you're in range of both of these two cities. But because this base has a 2-turn reinforced to the city, you're basically never going to be capturing your opponent's cross the river city is what I called it when I'm playing this match. So we get some more early infantry moves. This map, more than most maps, takes a little bit of a while to get going, a little bit because of the low income. And I actually open up anti-air here. And I'm doing this for a few different reasons. The number one reason is because Grimm, or Grimm guy, rushed his airport. And because of this, I know he wants to get battlecopters out. So getting out a preemptive anti-air against that type of play is a good move. And also this is the base that you want it on because battlecopters attacking in this area are very annoying. So having an anti-air responding early is going to be helpful. And the second main reason why I'm building an anti-air here as opposed to a tank, which is what you would normally see as your early matchup, is because I believe that tanks aren't good against Grimm. This is kind of a point that I want to talk about for a while, and I've seen Grimm guy matchups. It's stuff that I've considered commenting on other videos, but like, I think tanks are actually really bad against Grimm guy for a few different reasons. Your opposing Grimm's tanks are his most powerful units, right? Because they have that extra attack, and if they die in battle, he's just going to flood in more of them, right? So you don't want to respond to that tank spam with tanks of your own. You want to respond to it by units that can attack the tank but not take any damage back. So like battlecopters, medium tanks, and that's what the majority of your army wants to be. And you respond to that, your Grimm's aggression with his units that he's going to want to build, which are battlecopters and tanks, with anti-air, right? So if he's going to build, I'm not so describing this perfectly, but if he's going to build battlecopters and tanks, you want to have anti-air and medium tanks, right? That's the matchups you want to be gearing yourself towards, and not as much just building straight tanks and trying to get into a meat grinder match with Grimm. So that's what I'm going to be going for. I'm going to be going for lots of anti-air, medium tanks in the long game, as many as I can, and then building really sparse amounts of tanks only when it's absolutely necessary, which is basically one in the early game and maybe a few later on in this match. But that was kind of my philosophy going into this, is that tanks aren't that great, and I want to be building anti-air and medium tanks. With that long-winded explanation about why I did anti-air instead of tank on the first vehicle out of the way, we keep on going with this match. We have the first engagement here. Grimm goes for the interrupt of the city here, 7-5. Not a bad engagement, but doesn't totally interrupt my ability to capture. And we go to my turn. Doing some more early captures. This movement of the infantry is kind of interesting because this infantry is actually going for this city right here, but it actually takes 3 turns to get to it. So the best way I found to move this infantry is, if it's going to take 3 turns anyway, put it here first to scare your opponent, make him think twice about capturing this city, and then go 1, 2, and you're still at that city. Versus if I had just gone towards like this forest, which is where I could have gone, it would still take me the same amount of turns, but now I'm pressuring and making him scared, potentially making him not capture the city because I'm threatening it, when the entire thing is like a bluff because this infantry is actually going towards this city over here. So just kind of a positioning tip with that infantry. Seeing this infantry here, instead of going for the capture of my own because I'm not going to get it, I further knocked down his infantry down to 4 because that gets it off the kind of nice number of 5 where you can get it in 3 turns. In 4 turns, so now it's going to take 5 turns to capture city, so this infantry is basically worthless. And I bring in another infantry to recapture the city and potentially kill off that infantry as well. I send more infantry over here to the right. One of the things that I realized in this game is because there's so many cities over here, including this very important mountain city, you kind of want to flood the right side of the map, your difficulty terrain side of the map, with more infantry than you think, because some of them are going to get picked off and there's a lot of infantry to capture, a lot of cities to capture. And I think that's something that Grimm guy actually didn't do that well this game. You can see he only has 2 infantry out here right now. He's building his own tanks and going for a lot of pressure over here in my contested territory in the mountains. But having this infantry set up, especially with my anti-air coming up, which can absolutely devastate some of these infantry, is not going to be good for his long-term captures of these cities. So I go ahead and build the early tank. I'm not saying I'm going to build absolutely 0 tanks this game, but I don't want to emphasize them too much. But it is important to have 1 in the early game, so I build it here on the southern base. And we go into Grimm guy's turn. He gets the comm tower cap, wipes out my infantry on the city, does in fact go for this capture on the city, so he wasn't scared about this infantry at all, which is smart because, again, it was a bluff, and then builds a battlecopter, right? So this is something I knew was going to happen. That's why I built the anti-air early. And Grimm guy's basically saying, like, I don't care that you have an anti-air. Battlecopters are great on this map, and I needed to get them anyway. So he goes ahead and builds the battlecopter from that base, or from the airport. Goes ahead and starts the capture here on this city. I can interrupt it if I want. And we pass it to my turn. Rolling into day 7 here for myself, I go ahead and capture the comm tower before going for this interaction. Very important to always do that in your matches. Get a 6-5 engagement. It's a little unlucky, but again, it's Grimm, so he's going to be counterattacking pretty strong. But still nice that I was able to interrupt the capture. Kill off that infantry with my own. Bring my tank forward. Start capturing here again. Again, I'm calling his bluff here. I actually do interrupt with my infantry on the mountain instead of going for the city. Logic there being is that this infantry is going to do the same pathing towards this city. And I don't really feel like I need the income as much as preventing Grimm his income, right? Because in a lower income setting, Max actually does slightly better, in my opinion, because the Grimm's units dying off is going to be far worse for him because his unit count is going to be lower to low income setting. That wasn't described the best, but trust me that in a lower income setting, if we only had like 5k total income, Max would have the advantage because he's going to ultimately get a higher unit count because Grimm's units can't survive. That's the better way to describe it. So yeah, sorry. Didn't explain it the best, but yes, that's why I'm going for this interrupt here instead of prioritizing my own income by sending this infantry to this city. So I put my anti-air on this city here, go for the capture on that city as well, and we pass it back to Grimm Guy. Grimm Guy goes for the interaction here on the mountain, knocking my infantry down to 1. Kills off my infantry on the shoals, and he's going to move or build a tank here on this base, and he does not move the tank on the city. I bring my anti-air over here. What I'm going to be doing is blocking off this pathing. This path right here where you have this mound and then pipe seam is very strong in this map because if you control it, you control both access to this lane, the center lane, and towards the middle. So it's very important that you have your units here as opposed to your enemies, because if your units are here, you can pass through this whole area freely, but if there are enemy units there, you're going to need to wall break them in some fashion if you want to pass through this passageway. So it's something I recognize that it's important about this map very early on, and it's something that I'm going to be trying to emphasize later on in this match. This infantry move here is actually a blunder. I wanted to move the infantry right here to this tile, that way it has access both to this city cap and this city cap, just keeping my options open, but I just moved to the wrong tile, and now this infantry can't actually capture the city, which is the one I was going for anyway, so this is just a waste of 1,000 income that's going to be because I'm wasting a turn here. So yes, that should have been here instead of here, so one of my big mistakes of this game actually. Like I said though, I'm going for control of this mountain area by putting my infantry in front of the battlecopter. Get a free attack here with my tank on his infantry on the city. Nothing can interrupt this, or nothing can punish this, so good little interaction for me. Start some more captures down here in the bottom right and move out my own battlecopter that I built on the last turn. Like I said, I want to be focusing battlecopters and anti-air this game, and you'll actually see that in this next few turns. So again, I build battlecopter, infantry, not going to be focusing on tanks, and I pass my turn to Grimm Guy. Grimm Guy goes for some more early captures, gets some infantry here in the mountains as well. I think, again, he's recognizing the importance of this area. Centralizes his battlecopter, moves his tank out here to potentially address my anti-air. Moves his other tank down here in the south and builds a anti-air in response to my own battlecopter. Actually, I have 2 battlecopters now, so it's very imperative that he gets out this anti-air and potentially another one later down the line and keeps them both alive. And goes for the interrupt here on my city capture. We roll into day 9 for me. I go for this free attack here on the battlecopter. This guarantees I'm going to get the city now. I capture on this turn, nothing can interrupt, and then I capture on the next turn and get the city. I think Grimm Guy had a small chance of knocking this infantry down to 4 HP on his previous turn, in which case this city capture would not be guaranteed, but he didn't roll well, so I was able to kill off the infantry with a battlecopter and confirm that city. I move my infantry now to the correct spot and then go for this interaction here with the anti-air killing off the infantry on the city. If we look back at this was actually capturing infantry. So this was a full HP infantry on a city, dying one shot to an anti-air. That's kind of a Grimm rule right there. That's why Grimm really kind of stinks in general. If that was any other CO, that infantry would be knocked down to, I think, 1 HP, 2 HP. 2 HP feels like Von Bolt or something, but at the worst, 1 HP. Both Grimm, it's a full interrupt, it's a full kill, and that's just like a devastating aspect of Grimm's game. So I move my infantry out, move it forward, again start getting some control of this area towards the other mountain side. Go for the attack here on the infantry on the mountain, just again trying to get as many good engagements as I can, as many first strikes as I can. I move this infantry, the weakened infantry, out to here to potentially interrupt the city if he goes for some type of join cap on the city here. Build another battlecopter and 2 infantry. Again, you can see the builds, I'm really focusing this, 3 battlecopters, a tank, and an anti-air. So like, and if you compare that to my opponent, he has 2 tanks, a battlecopter, and an anti-air. So 3 battlecopters against 2 tanks and a battlecopter, that's winning engagement numbers for me, right? The only bad sort of engagement here is his tank against my anti-air. So I'm winning kind of the meta game here of the unit builds. That being said, Grimm guy is still a much better player than me in general, so we'll see how he comes back here. Or not even comes back, but uses his strategic excellence to find an advantage. So he goes off and goes ahead and kills the infantry here on the city, basically for free, because he's using kind of a wall to wall back this battlecopter from my anti-air. Goes in and goes for the capture here on the city. Brings out his tanks, and this is a very crucial moment. So I was actually watching the game live here at this moment, and if Grimm guy puts this 5 HP infantry here on the shoals, there's no way for me to get my anti-air to this battlecopter. It would be absolutely impossible, and he would have gotten this kind of semi-free engagement here on the infantry, and another kill on the other infantry that was here, basically for free, and it would have been a great turn. Instead of this, though, Grimm guy goes for the join cap. I think his reason being for this is that this infantry, if it interrupted from the mountains, it would knock the 5 HP infantry down even further, making it take, I think, 3 turns to capture. But if I do it now, the infantry basically dies, and it's going to get it in 2 turns. So it's a better engagement for Grimm. But this has a devastating consequence, which is that this is actually opening up an incredible luck opportunity for myself. So we'll discuss it here on the next turn, but if I get very lucky, I can basically destroy Grimm guy's entire position down here on the left side of the board. So he goes ahead and builds an anti-air from this base, moves his tank back, and builds an infantry. And I go for this right away. So let's talk about this luck roll. Because this tank got some chip damage from, I believe it was the full HP infantry at the time, but it knocked it down to 3 HP, the tank took probably about 1 to 4 damage, I believe, from chip from that infantry. And now I'm going to attack it with this tank and this infantry. And if you looked at the calculations, if this was a full HP tank, it would have probably about a 10% chance to kill this tank on the plains, allowing my anti-air to come in and kill the battlecopter. With this chip damage, though, the odds skyrocket up to about a 40% chance. So I'm going to go for this engagement, but I kind of want to talk about a philosophical idea of luck rolls, right? Which is that if you're ever in a situation where you're facing a superior opponent, like you're facing someone like Grimm guy or Degis or, you know, one of the top players on the sites, and they give you an opportunity to have a game-winning type move that has even a low probability of happening, you should absolutely take it. Think about it like this. If you were in a chess match against Magnus Carlsen and he gave you a 10% chance to play without his queen or just a 100% chance to play the game normally, you should absolutely take the 10% chance to face him without him having a queen. And the reason for that is if you're going to play the game normally, you're going to lose anyway, right? So there's no downside in going for a luck roll or something like a very drastic move against a good player if it gives you the opportunity to win the game, because in a normal scenario, by playing safe, by playing conservatively, by not going for these luck rolls, you're probably not going to win the game anyway. So seeing this and seeing the matchup that I'm in, this is exactly what I do. I go for the tank interaction, go 9-2, and get the kill with the infantry on the tank on the plane. This opens up the anti-air to kill off the battlecopter, and now the game is basically over. I mean, it's not completely over at this point, but it's really, really bad for Grimm guy at this point. I'm up 12k this is? Yeah, 12k in unit value. I'm up multiple unit count, and the biggest problem here is my actual units on the board basically all counter what Grimm guy wants to be doing here, right? I have 3 battlecopters addressing his 2 tanks, and I have the 1 tank to kill off the anti-air here on the right, but I'm going to be shifting these battlecopters over to the left, shifting my tank over to the right on my next few turns, and building a tank or a medium tank coming up to address his anti-air as well. So overall, I've killed off a tank, a battlecopter, and 3 infantry, and I believe he's killed 2 infantry in return. That is a horrible mid game, and basically, like, not unrecoverable, but in a matchup as well where you have the worst CO in the game against his ultimate counter, it's just really not going to turn out well for you. So we continue on with this turn though, because at the end of the day, the game's not over yet. I go for another engagement here. This is also an incredibly high luck roll to go 7-4 here. Completely interrupts any chance he has of capturing the city. If it was at 5, there may be an argument there. And also he low rolls on the return back, so this is just a very lucky turn for me in general. But like I said, I bring my battlecopters over here to the left. This battlecopter keeps these units safe away from this tank. Bring out these battlecopters running away from the anti-air. Move my infantry over here, not capturing because I don't want to be interrupted by that infantry on the mountain. Build a tank to address the anti-airs, like I said earlier. Build another anti-air just in case he wants to bring out, you know, battlecopters, potentially even a bomber later on in the game. And Grimm guy just resigns. He took basically the full 6 days here. I think he was trying to figure out different moves to see if he maybe had a chance left in this game. But at the end of the day, he didn't really see it, especially in this matchup, and he resigns the game. First of all, I just want to say great game to Grimm guy. I've watched so many of his casts on other channels, especially all the ones that have been featured on Mang's, his YouTube channel, and I know just exactly how strong of a player Grimm guy is. So this game kind of feels in some ways like a role, like Grimm guy was never ever in this game, but that is because I got very, very lucky on that last turn. But I stand by my philosophy, right? Like, I think that idea is fundamentally sound, is that if you are objectively the worst player in the game, if you're objectively like multiple hundreds of elo worse than your opponent, especially because, you know, Grimm guy is 1400, but Grimm guy, who actually is Grimm guy, his main account, which again is secretive, he doesn't want out there, and I don't know, so I'm not going to speculate. I'm sure that main account is probably 400 or 500 elo better than me. So in that situation, go for the risky plays, go for the luck rolls. If you have an opportunity, however slim, to have a game-winning move, go for it, because like the odds are, if you're in a normal game and you're just playing conservatively, you're gonna lose by tactics either way. So that's what I did. I got very lucky. I was able to pull it off, and I get the amazing win over Grimm guy. So very exciting games we've had on the channel these past few matches. We had the Tesla match against Starflash, which is a very interesting game. I think I had another, what was the other match? Oh, my match against Laska Larna, that Von Boltz versus Hawk game, with me kind of overtaking the HQ with the Ex Machina. That was a very exciting game. And we have some more exciting games coming up in the future here. I have a match currently going on against Starflash, ironically enough, on Darkling Woods. And I just got matched up against Poland, who is like 1500 elo, and I think the top player currently on the site in standard play. So the elo, the global league pool right now is not being the kindest to me with these matchups. I am not as strong as I think the pool thinks I am, because it's giving me these crazy matchups. But hopefully these will all be very interesting games, and I'll have the opportunity to cast them on the channel later on. With all that being said, thank you so much for watching. My name is MansaMusa, and remember, luck is a skill. Bye, guys.